Somebody sent me some questions, and I think they were good questions, so I may as well make a video about it, and I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate this. I think that they're probably questions that a lot of people have, and I don't have all the answers, but I can do my best. Now, first I'm going to read all the questions, and then I'll go one by one through them and talk about them. Male and female created he them from Genesis. What you teach about the intersex people has me so confused, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. And it is really confusing. I guess it's one of those things, it becomes less and less confusing the more you understand about it. And a lot of it just comes down to biology being a little bit more malleable than people think. And that's really just it. What I don't understand is, well, a lot. Can a perfectly natural man and a perfectly natural woman give birth to an intersex person? 2. If a man and woman naturally give birth to an intersex person, how would that child end up in the Baphomet circles if the parents are Christians or simply not involved in Masonry? 3. Have a lot of intersex people been created on purpose by transgendering them from the womb or birth? Does hormonal birth control cause intersex children? 4. Aren't a lot of children just raised to cross-dress? And then a few more questions. My main question is, how do children that are born like this get involved with the enemy if they come from perfectly normal families? Were the parents Luciferian and then try to conceive an intersex child, or did having an intersex child open the door for them to be members of the Luciferian club? I understand if they were born that way, but how does that get them involved in deceptions and lying for the enemy? Okay, so let's just take these one by one. Male and female created he them. And try to not take this personally. What I teach about I'm not trying to come up with my own, I don't know, just the way that it is. I don't want to be an author of confusion. I hope I'm not being an author of confusion. I'm trying to make things make sense. And I understand what they're talking about with this, and I think it just comes down to, well, God created them man and woman, male and female, and things have been scrambled up, and we're in the end. This is the end times. So Satan has had a long time to screw things up, and I think that it probably was just as screwed up as today in the times of Noah. And that's why there was a big reset then. But anyway, so to answer the question, so there was a man which sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. So that's one explanation. Yeah, God didn't create the confusion. That was Satan, and Satan created the tares. Now, you really shouldn't take that and think just because somebody is intersex, therefore they're a child of Satan. That's not it at all, but it's obvious to me that this big gender inversion agenda is certainly a result of Satan, and what Satan wants to do is invert everything that God has done. So it just makes complete sense that Satan flips everything, and one of those big things to flip is male becomes female and female becomes male. And that's the entire basis of alchemy, really. If you just go research alchemy, and it doesn't take very long before you start hearing them talking about mixing male and female. And if you go look at the Baphomet statue, you'll see the two serpents, the medical symbol right at the crotch of the Baphomet, and the Baphomet's all about gender inversion. So, your father the devil. I guess that's the explanation. God didn't create this confusing thing. Satan did. So, that's the answer to the first question. Can a perfectly natural man and perfectly natural woman give birth to an intersex person? I believe, yeah. It's just a part of biology. Something that I don't bring up very often, it's kind of interesting to me, Did you know that a lot of food that we eat these days, it's been genetically selected to be a hermaphrodite? Because when they can genetically make the fruit be strange and unusual, it does things like the seeds won't be viable. So think like a watermelon. The reason that watermelons these days don't have seeds, they do funky genetic things with them that make the watermelon like not viable. And that's why the seeds are not viable. And it's kind of like how they've made this intersex class of people. And so it can happen. I guess the point is it can happen naturally. There are a lot of plants out there and animals that are naturally hermaphrodites, naturally intersex, what you might call. There's a lot of interesting animals out there that they can just switch from male to female, maybe at different parts of their life cycle. Sometimes they don't know how this stuff happens, it just does. And yeah, biology is just more malleable than a lot of people think. And God didn't make men and women to be able, like, God clearly knew that all this stuff was possible, but he made men and women correctly. But the underlying mechanisms through which things can become hermaphrodites and all that, it existed. And Satan abused his knowledge of that to make a bunch of flipped people. Okay, but to answer this question, yes, Matthew chapter 19, verse 12, for there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb. That right there, that's it. Jesus knew about intersex people. Jesus knew about people who were born that way. There's a reason that Gaga had that. Was it an album? Was it a song? It doesn't matter. But there's this notion of being born that way. They're born that way a lot of times. And that just comes up right here. There's eunuchs born from their mother's womb. So I guess here it's worth pointing out, a lot of stuff makes sense when you understand this. Did you ever have questions? Why do professional prostitutes and just whorish women not get knocked up all the time? And the thing is that, well, they're infertile. It's probably been like this for ages and ages and ages, where if a woman knows that she's infertile, that really opens up the possibilities for going and being a prostitute, because you won't ever get pregnant. And so all these swire people, they know that they can't naturally get pregnant, so that's why they have no problem being a prostitute. That's why they have no problem being just a whore, because they know there's no consequence there. They can't get pregnant. They were born that way. If a man and woman naturally give birth to an intersex person, how would that child end up in the Baphomet circles if the parents are Christians or simply not involved in Masonry? So a lot of these questions I don't have an answer, because they never defect. I've never heard of one of these people defecting. And these are just all answers that you would just have to know somebody in the club that's willing to explain this stuff, but I've never heard of that existing. They really are tight-lipped. There's a reason that they're really obsessed with the taking pictures with the Their whole life is about this secret. And what's the first rule of Fight Club? Is that you don't talk about Fight Club. They are just tight-lipped on this thing. And so all I can do about this is guess. All I can do is guess, is that I believe that what they would do is they would target you, and you would just slowly get deeper and deeper and deeper into the system until you're trapped and you can't get out. We hear often of, oh, they have homo sex tapes and pedo sex tapes on all these people at the top so that they can blackmail them. And that probably is a part of it. There is just this festering satanic pedophile cult right underneath the surface, and that probably is a big way that they have control over these people, is getting them to do nastier things and getting evidence on them and blackmailing them. So how to answer that? I don't know how to answer this question. How does anybody get drawn into the dark side? It's probably starts off subtle and it gets worse and worse and worse, and then they eventually find themselves in a situation they can't get out of. Don't take oaths. It's very interesting. Why? That was it in John's letter? Somebody will have to fact check me on this. One of I believe John's letters ends with "Don't take any oaths," and stay away from idols. A lot of people get sucked in, I think, because they get the people tell them that they're going to become illuminated. Oh, we're going to make you a star. Or give you the big promotion. I guess so. I just chose this, that in the Harry Potter universe, there's magical people born of muggles. So I think that could be talking about two normal people could have an intersex child who could be picked up by the system. Question 3, have a lot of intersex people been created on purpose by transgendering them from the womb or birth? So I'll say here this. Imagine 300 years ago if you could walk into a witch doctor and they said, oh, you and your wife are planning on having children. Would you like to guarantee to have a boy? And so yes, I think that they can purposefully go in there and do this. And what you would be doing is taking a female embryo and hitting them with testosterone at the right time. And this could have just been trial and error. These people, it's not high tech. It's horse piss. And I don't know the main way that they get the testosterone, probably bull testicles or something. It's very crude. These days they like to make this stuff seem high tech so that you think, oh, how could hormones have existed in the past? It comes in a pill. I go to the pharmacy to get it. It's made out of horse urine. So I think that this has been going on for a long time. Does hormonal birth control cause intersex children? I don't know. But hormonal birth control, really, it's often just hormone therapy for people with Swyer syndrome. It just also happens to stop natural women from getting pregnant. I don't know if it can trigger a natural woman to, I mean, it's estrogen, so I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. The CIA, did you know that the CIA used to be called the Pickle Factory? Baby boom generation, in my opinion, they probably made, what do you call it, reproductive. So, I mean, this is just one thing. Fertility. There we go. Fertility clinics. Fertility clinics are everywhere. Just think about it. It doesn't make any sense for a biological species, if you just want to think of it in that terms. It doesn't make sense for a biological species to require tons of what people think is high-tech medical intervention, and oftentimes it is, like IVF and stuff. But I think that they probably had crude ways to do this back then, too. Don't be deceived by people making stuff seem high-tech. A lot of this stuff, it's really gross when you think about it, and a lot of what they do is just slicing people open and injecting stuff in. But anyways, it seems like at certain points in time, that they make fertility stuff just very accessible and very cheap. I think that's probably what the baby boom was. They just made it very accessible and cheap for people to have a lot of children in the IVF way, in the way that these people procreate. Now, a marten and a natural woman, they can have natural babies and they can naturally make more free martens. And I think that could go in. People talk about corrupted bloodlines. I don't know. I don't think just because somebody's born that way means that they're evil. However, I do agree that the fact that there are so many free martens that do beget more free martens, it is like a corruption of the bloodline. And the Bible does talk about family lines being corrupted and cursed for generations. Okay, so I know a lot of this is rambling, but this is just such a huge topic. It's hard. I can just say what comes to mind and just go from there. So yeah, there have been intensive efforts in the past to create these in utero transgenders, in my opinion. Yes, the Pickle Factory. I think entire cultures were probably at one time cultures of eunuchs. Something about ancient China and Japan, they just feel like eunuch cultures to me, and they have such high rates of intersex. that, yeah, it just seems to me like there are certain entire cultures that are built around this thing. Southeast Asia. There's a reason that Southeast Asians are very into ladyboys. And it seems like all the old knowledge, they seem to know about this stuff. Think of how the Native Americans openly talk about two spirit people, and it seems like all the old India, anything that's old, India has all the Hajira, and why do all these old cultures know about intersex people? And anyways, it's hidden knowledge. I'll just fling through these really fast. The dad who gave birth, the pregnant man, and look how masculine the one in the front is. So just what I wanted to point out here is that they clearly get people pregnant and then do strange things with hormones. And of course that this is going to have effects on the child. Surprising anatomical similarities between penises and clitorises. Sex redefined. The idea of two sexes is overly simplistic. Teen born with male genitals and raised as boy becomes pregnant after surprise discovery. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a whole bag of worms. I guess one more thing I'll say about that question. I don't know if I've even answered that question yet. So Aldous Huxley wrote a book, Brave New World, and in the book Brave New World talks about free martins and having a huge percentage of the population being free martins. And so he puts his own little twist on it. I think that he calls them infertile women in the book. He calls free martins. But really, I mean, I guess it kind of is. A free martin, it's an infertile woman because they're born with a penis, often a micro penis. And I mean, just the normal free martin stuff. Just the problem is, it's just weird because free martins aren't necessarily infertile in the way that we think of male fertility, because free martins, they do end up producing sperm and they can get people pregnant. Man, I mean, that's just such a big topic to unravel. I don't know. 4, aren't a lot of children just raised to cross-dress? Well, it seems like the biggest cross-dressers are men with male skeletons. Non-free martin men, they really, if they're going to be initiated into the cult, they become the cross-dresser ones. I think that there are some cross-dressers in the other direction, like Donna Trump. Donna Trump is just a female who takes tea and dresses up like a man. That does happen, but the club is just full of so many free martins. They don't need to cross-dress. They're born that way most of the time. And in my opinion, most of the cross-dressers are just, they're not swire, they're men, but they're in the cult and they dress like women. Like this one. And they used to hide in the shadows and run things from behind the scenes. You know, that's one of those things from history that they tell you the truth in plain sight. And it's also one of those things that has multiple meanings. You know, they say behind every man is some powerful woman or something. Okay, it's kind of talking about the fact about how all the men in history are actually women. They're just on tea. Like George Washington, that's actually the woman just on tea. It's also why they wear wigs, because their hair falls out from the tea. Anyways, it just seems like this day they're letting the men be in the spotlight. The men in dresses used to hide in the background, probably because they just didn't have as much surgery available and probably more busted looking, and they just probably preferred to stay in the background and run things from behind the scenes. Anyways, that one just like known thing from history where behind every man is an equally powerful woman running things. There's a lot of stuff going on there. The woman running things is really a man in a dress, and then the one in the spotlight is really the woman. It's a wacky world. I hope my questions make sense. My main question is, how do children that are born like this get involved with the enemy if they come from perfectly normal families? I don't know. All I can say is, What is a perfectly normal family? These people, they try to act normal, but it's behind closed doors that they do all this weird eyes wide shut stuff. I'm not a part of it. I don't know. All I know, I have fragmented memories from my youth where I know that my family tried to get me to become a part of this. But other than that, I don't know. I really don't know. I think that you probably just, you get invited to parties and you slowly get shown more and more of this stuff, and eventually you just find yourself trapped. You can't get out. That's just a guess. I got out when I was young. I don't know how it happened. I know it has something to do with, my family tells stories about, an alleged one story that they tell about me killing a rabbit at some point, which I don't know exactly what it's all about. I don't know if it's something that I actually did, but it seems symbolic. And I know that my family did try to raise me as a girl. They tried to raise me wearing dresses. It's really, I'll just tell the story. It's very disturbing and bizarre. Not the last time I visited home, but the time before that. It's like weird. A year ago, 2 years ago, I don't remember. Time doesn't make sense anymore. My mom got like oddly sentimental, and she was like sending me baby pictures, which is weird because growing up, it was like always a known thing. Oh, we don't have any baby pictures of you. They would like tell me that. And it was just a known thing. Oh, you just don't have any baby pictures, which is a strange thing to tell somebody, but also just a strange thing. Why wouldn't you have baby pictures of one of your children? So it seemed weird when all of a sudden my mom was sending me baby pictures here and there, and it seemed like very carefully chosen baby pictures that she decided to send me. And also one of the baby pictures had long hair and looked like they were dressing them up like a girl. And then when I brought it up, my mom said something, "Oh, that's your sister," or something, which, why does that make sense? Why would my mom send me 10 pictures with one of them being my sister? So that was BS. They were all photos of me. And then another thing, when I went home not the last time, but the time before, whatever, doesn't matter. My mom was reminiscing, going through photo albums and showing some phony pregnancy photos. And then it's just so weird how she glossed over it like it was just nothing. Just flipped to one page. Oh, there's me in a dress. And then that was it. And then she just flipped the page. And I was crying. It was a photo of me in a dress, like bawling my eyes out. And my mom just said, "Oh, yep, there's a photo of me in a dress. Next page." So, and that was it. Moving on. Yeah, I don't know if you get anything from that story, but that's basically, that's what I know. I don't know anything. They keep me in the dark about everything. I know that they tried to make me be a part of it when I was young. I know I got out of it somehow, and they stopped putting me in dresses. They gave me a new name. They tell me a story about how my cousin actually named me, which really doesn't make any sense. Why would my cousin be involved with my cousin? And it's like a weird off cousin that I barely talk to, and it seems weird. Why would he be the one to come up with my name? It's like they had to come up with a new name all of a sudden, when it's like, oh, when they noticed I wasn't going along with the show and I'm not going to be happy putting on dresses, they had to all of a sudden come up with a new name for me. It's weird. So to answer this question, perfectly normal. What do you mean by perfectly normal? Everybody pretends to have a perfectly normal family, and they don't talk about the weird stuff. Almost every family will have tons of family stories that are just too embarrassing or bizarre, and they don't bring it up. Every family has stories of, oh, did you know that your uncle actually isn't their child? It's your other aunt had that child for them. I've heard many instances where that person's adopted and they don't know. Everybody else in the family knows that the child is adopted, but they'll gaslight the one adopted child and they'll never tell them. They'll be like 18. Everybody in the family knows that they're adopted. Nobody tells them. This earth runs on secrets, and you're surrounded by liars. So what is a normal family? What is a normal Christian family? Just because somebody goes to church, just because somebody calls themselves Christian, that doesn't mean anything. Or did having an intersex child open up the door for them to be members of the Luciferian Club? Maybe. Yeah, I think that a lot of times they they do have children as a part of the getting themselves deeper in the club. That seems more like, I don't know, the ones living as men when they get forced to have a children, that more like seems like that. A lot of, especially people like, I don't know, Kanye, Jack Black, and stuff like that, it's, I don't know, do they really want to get pregnant? It's almost like it's being forced on them by the system to go through with those things. It's like, well, if you're going to be this illuminated individual, we're going to use your womb and create new people. And I think that a lot of those famous people, they're all connected. It's one big family. They like to take an FTM like Kanye's baby and turn them into a new superstar in the next couple decades. I don't know. So I guess just all I can say here is one thing, open the door to be members of the Luciferian Club. People, this is just a disgusting truth of this place. People whore out their children to the system. And that is, I don't know what all happens, but I have memories myself of being brought to a fancy place and then boop, my memory is gone. Going to a fancy place with fancy outdoor pools. My mom took me there. I don't even know why. I can hardly remember any. It almost feels like just a dream at this point, but I know it happened. And memory gone. You've heard about the panda imagery that they talk about with respect to children. It's because that's when they drug the children, they get like the dark circles around their eyes, panda eyes. People take their children and they give them to pedophiles, and they get things out of this, positions of power, money. But it really is a truth of this place. There's a satanic pedophile underground, and yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, in the past, I mean, maybe they used to perform sex magic rituals in order to make this come about, to get all these intersex children. I don't know. Is there a way to ensure you have a son? I mentioned this briefly in the past. Imagine 300 years ago if somebody says, hey, here's a potion, it'll make sure you have a boy. Of course, this is going to do weird things to the baby if you have a full beard and you're pregnant. Of course, having a full, thick beard while pregnant is going to do strange things to the baby. 33-year-old. They look demonic. This is just a topic for a whole nother video. Swire pregnancies, why swire pregnancies are evil. They have so many miscarriages. A lot of these swire women, they claim to be Christian, but whenever they give birth, whenever they get pregnant and give birth, they're having tons of miscarriages. How many fertilized embryos do they go through before they have a child? And yeah, swire pregnancy is just a huge topic. They'll pretend it's really rare, but these days it's super, super common for swire men born with a vagina. They can get pregnant these days from IVF and hormone therapy. They'll say it's really rare, but it's just not. You can find these people all over your family. Just look for people with male skeletons who got pregnant. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.